Yes, well, welcome. So my name is Nathan Scott. I'm the Executive Director of MassEnergize, and this is our June Community of Practice. This will be the last Community of Practice. We normally take a break over the summer, so this is our last Community of Practice before we start up again in September. So just wanted to make that announcement, and I'll say that again at the end of our time. But we're really excited tonight. We have some wonderful speakers who I'll be introducing in a moment. But again, before we get started, I do want to just welcome everybody and offer an opportunity for anybody who's new to have just a chance. Maybe turn on your camera and introduce yourself. I do see some new names, people I don't recognize, and maybe if this is your first time or even your second time, we want to be able to welcome you. So feel free to unmute, turn on your camera, and say a little bit about what brings you here.
I'll start. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate O'Connor. I'm with Art for Public Good, working with Carolina, and I'm currently in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us, Kate. Is there anybody else who'd like to introduce themselves?
Hi there, my name's Sky Gramus. I'm joining from Undaunted K-12, and I'm currently on a walk with my dog, so I'm gonna stay off camera till hopefully I get back into my home. But I'm based in Gloucester, Mass, and excited to be here and see some familiar faces and lots of new ones.
Great. Welcome, Sky. Thank you for joining
Yeah.
us. Anybody else? Okay, well, if not, that's fine. We do like to make sure that this community of practice is an open and inviting place. We will have a chance for some discussion. So it's just a nice place for people to come, share, come with ideas, come with thoughts, come with questions for each other. And we really want this to be a space where people feel free to kind of speak up and share what's going on in their communities or ask questions and get responses. So, so tonight's theme is really youth engagement. As many of you know, we at MassEnergize have in the last year kind of taken on a focus to support youth climate leadership and youth engagement. And there's lots of other great folks in the communities as well who are doing interesting and good youth work. So many of you know the work of Cooler Communities. And if you don't, you'll be hearing some more about that from Steve Shanley. And then we also have another guest, a very special guest here, Carolina Aragon, who is with Art for Public Good. So I'll let each of them say more about themselves as part of their presentation. And then we'll talk a little bit about the MassEnergize's project, which many of you know about, the Youth Climate Solutions Challenge. Joe, before we get started, are there other things that we want to share from the MassEnergize side? Any updates or anything else?
Not currently tonight. No, all about these tonight. Nothing from MassEnergize.
Okay. Well, okay, so then I'd like to introduce Steve, and I'm going to let Steve talk a little bit more about himself and the background. But Steve has been working with Cooler Communities, and they have some very interesting and diverse youth engagement projects that they've been doing over the years. And so I'm going to turn it over to you, Steve.
Thanks, Nathan. Appreciate it. Hello, everybody, and I'm sure you all have faces, although your cameras are off. It's great to be here. I appreciate giving me a chance to come tell you about this cool project. So, for those of you who don't know about Cooler Communities, I'll start with a little slide. Great. So Cooler Communities, it's a Massachusetts-based grant organization. It started as a grant org, but basically, if we are trying to find ways to get climate into the classroom. And so if you have something you want to do, Cooler Communities tries to like fill the funding gap, and they funded all sorts of we have funded all sorts of projects across the state and beyond with some national programs as well. The program I'm mostly here to talk to you about today is our Heat Seekers program. So this is going to be a passive design program that we piloted in Springfield at Duggan Academy. And it's all about trying to cool off classrooms. Now, this is the most boring slide, but the ever important slide. Now, perhaps you're wondering, is it awful to be a kid and be in a classroom that's like 88 degrees, 90 degrees sometimes? Is that okay? And does it matter? Is it just an unwelcome discomfort, or does it actually matter? And then so there's lots of research. Basically, if you take the same kid and you put them in a comfortable classroom and they take tests or try to do anything cognitive, they're going to perform worse, or they're going to perform better than a kid that is in a classroom that's simply too hot. This is a paper, and there's a link to it on the slideshow that I can make available, but I doubt anyone, you know, it's usually you get it. Passive design, the dream. Now, to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about here, passive design is when you don't use any machines. So no air conditioning, no dehumidifiers. This is how much can we cool a place without using any energy? This accomplishes a bunch of goals. If you are building a building, if you're trying to build a school from scratch, like this dreamscape we have a picture of here, you're going to do a whole bunch of things. The main tenets are on the left there. So things like high-end insulation. You're going to orient the building so that sunlight gets in at the right angles, all these beautiful things. But of course, as we know, schools were not designed back in the day. Whenever they were built, passive design was not at the forefront of the thinking. Duggan Academy, where we piloted this program, it is in an urban heat island. The short version of that is that urban areas are built of, I think most of the people know this here, but I don't want to speak without assuming everyone does. We build cities, and schools are kind of like little cities. A lot of the time, there's a lot of concrete and a lot of things that absorb heat, and they are just hotter than the surrounding areas. So for a lot of schools, this means like 90-degree temperatures in September, beginning of the school year and the end of the school year. Great. So you're going to hear from Carolina and perhaps Kate in a little bit about some art projects that we've done. But at one of these art projects, they had this great grand reveal at this museum. It was beautiful. And this teacher showed up. See this person, Mary? If you were lucky, you had someone like Mary who teaches science to your kids in your community. She's amazing. She showed up. Past school hours just to support this art project. That was very cool. And I chatted up with Mary, and she's like, hey, it'd be really cool if someone ran this stuff in my classroom to try to cool it off. I just don't have the time. And of course, she knew I had the time, and I worked in the partnership program, and that's when Heat Seekers was born. Great. So passive design. Now, this is what we're talking about. If you look over to the left, the same things are listed I listed before. We aren't going to rebuild any schools with this program. That is not what this is about. This is about doing things to buildings that already exist. Now, the bad news is 4 out of the 6 are crossed off, but the good news is kind of the best 2 are not crossed off. These are things that we can totally do at schools with just a little bit of wherewithal and creativity. Great. Now, if you're sitting there like, Steve, I'm grizzled. I do not care if kids sweat in classrooms. All I care about is saving energy. This is MassEnergize. This isn't whatever else. No, I hope you don't feel that way. But just in case you're not convinced, the top thing is, schools that don't have any HVAC system, I'm going to argue that those people in that building deserve some relief while they await money for long-term upgrades. That's my position. If you don't care, if they do have a great HVAC system, there's still great reason. And the main reason is every degree you can move it closer to a comfortable temperature is a degree that we do not have to spend energy on. This is the core thing with passive design for me. If it was going to be 95 degrees and we get it down to 89 degrees, yeah, that's still too hot. You're going to turn on the HVAC system you have. But with passive design, you are going to take the hard edges off, like the hard spikes off. And if you don't care, if you don't care about the comfort at all, and all you care about is energy, it's even more worth it in that sense. Which, of course, is going to reduce the school's overall energy demands and helps us meet our climate goals and sustainability goals. All while making life better for everybody inside. Come on, people, what are we talking about here? The next thing, great. So this is what the program is. I'm giving you the picture version. It's kind of three phases. The first one is the kids, you're going in and they don't have much of an understanding of thermal energy. If you're working with seventh graders, as I did, that's what they're studying in school at the time. So you're going to go outside. The kids are going to play with laser thermometers, play with. They're going to collect data, but it seems like playing. And you're going to learn how different materials react under different thermal stress. Here they are recording the data. We're going to collect all these things, compare and contrast. Up here, you'll see these thermometers. Basically, the first day of the project, teachers are going to deploy these all around. They're going to collect data the whole time. At the end, you can compile this all off of Bluetooth and see if your things worked. They're going to test things like, does heat rise? You're going to go into stairwells, or not you, but rather the teachers in your community. They are going to learn things about like thermal mass. Does that matter? Yes, but humidity kind of makes that less of a factor where we live here. Things like ventilation and airflow. We all know about opening a window, but they don't understand, cross breeze and stack ventilation. So kids are going to become a little bit advanced on these things. Great. They learn a little bit about it. Now it's time to practice some stuff and try it out. They're going to build scale models. This involves in our program. I tried to make it really fun. There's a tape measure Olympics. That's right, people, Olympics. They're going to be all sweet with the tape measure at the end because they're going to be measuring their classrooms so they can make actual scale models. This one, they're using clay to simulate like what the material of the building is made out of. It has similar thermal properties to the concrete masonry units that we build buildings out of. There they are, more kids. Glue. This kid over here has the long stringy glue thing stuck to him, so that's fun. That'll happen. Kids are going to build these scale models. You try to make it as much like the school as you can. And then you're going to test them. Over here, you can kind of see a test. We put cardboard on the top to be a roof. And we're basically going to run all sorts of tests until we run out of variables that we can't think of any more variables. So they're going to test things like a shade sail. We got real ones donated from a local awning and canvas installer. And then they were like, is that better than a Honey Nut Cheerios box? I don't know. Great thing to test, kids. They're going to do all these different projects. We got an energy auditor, which perhaps some people in this group may know some of these people. They came into the class. They engaged the kids. We had a little outsider come in because they get bored of me. They did a blower door test. Here's some kids seeing air leaks and being like, wow, look at this as they block it off. So all sorts of things for the kids to learn through experience while caring about climate and lowering their energy costs. Of course, the final phase is after you test everything, they have the teachers and they're going to meet all the important folks at the district and in the school. And the main goal will be to actually do something at the end. In our case, it was heat rejecting window film. The kids got pretty into it. And after like a couple days, they would specialize and get really good at the jobs. So they did all the work. They would come in and they loved the meditation session where they'd be like squeegeeing all the water. And in the end, even kids that weren't really into stuff, they could get into the action on this, which was kind of everything a lot of teachers are looking for. Great. So this is the last little bit. I'm almost done. Is on this middle picture, you can kind of see this right window here. The closer to yellow it is, the hotter it is. Purple is cooler. This one does not have the window film. This one does have the window film. So you test these things. You let the kids make their own assessment. Everyone feels empowered. Of course, then there's the part where the kids that were not in this enrichment, we need to make sure everyone knows what's going on here. So we have an educational campaign that teaches kids about why, giving that basic energy knowledge and what we can do about it. Fantastic. So this is where the real exciting part. If you're like, oh my God, I'm already so excited. Can I handle any more? I hope so, because it's coming. This one is this. We have, after the pilot, we got a grant from the Door Foundation. All of the slides have been made, all of the annoying stuff that teachers normally have to spend a lot of time doing on their own. I tried to do that stuff for them. We tried to do it for them. And it is compiled onto like a free module for anyone to use. Repeat this. Please take this. Please use this. We want you to. In fact, the Door Foundation, part of the grant was we have $1,000 available to grant to people to run it and continue this pilot. That is kind of like the big thing for this whole project. If you know someone, you're like, oh, I know a teacher in my community that's perfect. You should tell them about this because we're just starting to tell people about it and we'd love to have you. That is the project. I can make these slides available through email or whatever, but you can also just go to coolercommunities.org and it'll be put together in a nice, neat package for you there. That is what we got.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Steve. Really happy to hear more about that. Are there questions? Anybody from the audience or anybody, who would like to ask some more questions of Steve? And it looks like we have both in the chat, but also Megan. So Megan's got her hand up, but I also see that Ellen just put something in the chat. Megan, do you want to ask your question live?
Yep, I'm wondering if your inspiration is to then, get the school district to invest in these materials so they can do it on all the windows. And if you've had conversations like that and any adoption.
Yeah, that's the dream scenario, is that you have proof of concept, get the kids involved, and then you can raise money from there. Um, yeah, that was our
So,
original goal with the pilot.
yeah, so you're early on yet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then Steve, Ellen has asked, curious what grade of school this would work best with, and what are the time commitment for teachers?
Yeah, I think, Steve, what I'm trying to understand is what's the pitch, right? All these teachers are, have a lot of stuff they already have to do. So
Mhm.
where do you think you most easily have an opening where it aligns with curricula? How much, it's sort of, you can come in with content, but we've had experiences where that we're like, well, we have no time for added content. So just talk to me about that overall challenge.
Great. Yeah, so it piloted with middle schoolers.
Hmm.
Seventh grade science does thermal energy. So there's a lot of crossover there. I see it. So when we talk to people, it's flexible STEM teachers that have project-based things that we think it works well with. But it can be it's middle school and up, really. It would just be done cooler by high schoolers who have more skills and hopefully more wisdom.
How much
Another
time
question.
was
Yeah.
it like, so great, the curriculum alignment? How many hours of class time,
Mhm.
you know, and is that flexible? Because I think that's a question, and do you have like a fact sheet or something that lays these things out?
I do.
Great.
So on this fact sheet, you'll find it's about 12 hours. So phases 1 and 2, all the building, learning about it,
Yeah.
building the little models and testing on them is about 12 hours.
Okay.
So it's not like they're going to spend half a school year on this. The implementation is going to be very flexible school to school. And if they want to just we're just going to test on scale models and have fun like that, we don't have the bandwidth or whatever, then, they can stop after phases 1 and 2. We'll give them less money because the $1,000 is supposed to do something. But we're happy that people are learning about this. And it does align with curriculum. Yeah, this is something I always intend to do, but don't. But there are many things along the way that are going to hit for different teachers.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful for us if we were going to try and make the pitch in the middle school, which I agree would be the most ripe area for us, unless it was like, AP environmental science or something.
Yeah.
Interesting. What does schools use the money for?
Right. So there's all the what works best and then what the school will allow you to do. And those are, well, was not crossed over in this one. So shading the building. Anyway, I could go into the whole thing, but a lot of it will depend on, relationships that the teacher has with the school and how charming they are. Like, will they allow them to put up a temporary trellis with plants outside their window? Does that violate fire code? There's all sorts of fun things that are written into that kids don't think about.
Got it. So it's basically the intervention to reduce heat gain.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Okay, other questions about the Cooler Communities program, Heat Seekers, or one of the other? We know that Cooler Communities runs other programs as well. So if you have questions about anything related to cooler communities, now's a good time. Okay, well, Steve, you'll stay with us for the rest of the evening, right? I mean, so you'll be available to answer questions if they come up later on.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you, Steve. And yeah, sounds like a great program. So if any of the our communities have, are you working with teachers? Um, I think these are some great resources, and we will be sharing all of the resources from tonight's presentations to all of the people who registered for tonight's event. So, okay, so we'll move on to our next guest. Our next guest is Carolina Aragon with Art for Public Good, and I just met Carolina tonight, so I don't know her well enough to introduce her. I'm gonna let her introduce herself. Carolina.
Thanks so much, Nathan and Joe. We're delighted to be here. Let me share my screen. Let's see if this works. Does that work? Yeah?
Yes.
Good, good, good. My name is Carolina Aragon. I'm the founder of Art for Public Good, and I'm also a professor at UMass Amherst. And we're here tonight because we want to share with you all our next project called Clean Clouds, which is an art education and action project on decarbonization, where we hope to connect children and their families to clean energy. So who we are, for the last 10 years, we have done a lot of public art that connects people with environmental justice and climate change issues. You may have seen some of these in your lifetime, I hope. Many of them are in the Boston metro area. And lately, we have been working also with cooler communities and other partners on issues of extreme heat. I will talk about one of our projects, Swarm, because it is a good model for what the Clean Cloud project aims to do. So Swarm was a project where we created educational content and art content to work with 400 students of the Duggan Middle School, um, the Duggan School Academy in Springfield. The idea with this project was to create a visual thermometer. So we made origami butterflies where we wrote messages about what to do when it gets really hot. And then we covered them in color changing paint that as temperatures got warmer, that temperature became translucent. And then you could see the sort of writing. So in the background here, you see what the students wrote about, what to do to stay cool. A lot of the work that we've been doing is about making things visible, right? Making things that are hard to know fun and beautiful, and also giving students and their families uh, sort of actionable things that they can do to make their conditions better from the very near future to longer term. So, what we are also sort of very good at doing as artists is we collect all these products, right, to create a larger installation that can be shared with the wider public, like we did here at the Springfield Museum of Science, and with our partners, Cooler Communities, and other organizations. We did signage, and we created sort of events. Steve was there; he was great. So trying to connect folks with whatever may be the available resources. Is it connecting them to any of the Mass Save programs, etc. We love this project. We were able to bring the butterflies back to the school with all the signage, so that these projects like live on in the memory and in this in physical way at the schools. They sort of instill a sense of pride. I encourage you, if you have the time, to go to our website and look at the videos. There's a lot of storytelling about it. Um, but we kind of felt like we could do a little bit better in terms of the action part. So our current project, Clean Clouds, is a Mass CEC Empower funded project with the intention of connecting priority populations to clean energy. are for public good. We are the sort of lead organization, but we have a partnership with Cooler Communities because of the work, excellent work that they already do in the schools. We are also partnered with Dear Tomorrow, a New York City-based nonprofit that has extensive experience in engaging teachers and people in reflecting about their future. You're writing letters to your future. And then I'm an academic and I have friends, and we're like really curious about whether this is working or not. So we have social science researchers that are sort of working with us to kind of assess the impact of our work. All right, so what are we thinking we want to do? Number one, we want to create curiosity about energy sources in the school or at home. So, do you know what we use to heat or cool your home? Asking those questions to kids, and they hopefully they can go home and ask, and if they don't they can guess, and so they'll pick a color, and so they will make a cloud, right? Like, and this cloud that they make will represent the sources of energy that heat and cool their homes, right? And as we probably all know, I don't know, I turn on the lights, electricity, and do you know where that comes from? And most of us don't. So we're sort of like creating a moment of reflection and making a physical object that then you can take home and maybe show your parents. Okay, we hope that then we can follow up with learning about your town's energy sources, right? And to learn about the impacts of fossil fuels. Oh, who knew natural gas is what powers most of the state of Massachusetts? I didn't know, right? And then, our thinking right now is that we can then, as a second cloud, maybe is a cloud that represents, to some extent, I know this is not perfect science, each town's makeup of, what's sort of behind the electricity, right? With the idea that we can then make some sort of larger data sculpture that can represent the town's um, sort of energy portfolio, right? And that this can give us an opportunity to have an event, to invite the caretakers and the community at large. But most importantly, this is where we would love to have a connection with organizations like you all that can, um, once we get people curious and with some ideas about how they can connect, that then we can make this sort of individualized roadmap or per town or per community of things that they can do. We hope to vet the organization so that we don't get, people that I have heard. Today I met with Brooks Winner with City of Boston, about this third party energy suppliers, right? We want to cut through all of that and just bring organizations that are truly working with priority populations and can give people choices. So we are we have experience in the art and the education field, right? We know how to create these things. We're obviously still in the design process, but we want partners that can help us bring the action part more concretely so that when we work with teachers in each school, and we manage to get that enthusiasm, right? That you are there at the table ready to sort of then take that on and hopefully better connect folks to the available resources in their area to decarbonize. So that's roughly the spiel and the goal of what we're doing. Our project manager, Kate, is here. And Kate, I don't know if I forgot something, but yeah, that's the idea so far.
Okay. Carolina, do you want to share more, or that's kind of this is where you'd like to stop and maybe
Here
take some
we
questions?
are. I will show our website. This is our Art for Public Good website. I don't know if you're in the area. Last year we did this project called Heat Blooms. It was a heat activated series of blooms of flowers that we deployed in Harvard Square, and the number of flowers represented the number of 911 calls in the city of Cambridge. I don't want to I will soon be uploading a video of this project that's more on the sort of sculpture part of our work. And as I mentioned earlier, there's Swarm. There's a short video here. I don't want to take many people of your time, but more information about our projects and sort of give you a sense of the kind of the spirit of what we do. My website, personal website, carolinaaragon.com, shows work that we've done in 4-point channel, floating sculptures, um, sort of visualizing sea level rise. In East Boston, we have a really good set of relationships with the library at the Excel Academy. We did a project where we asked people how they feel about flooding in their neighborhood, and those are color coded, and we transcribe the messages of what people wrote. Um, so our work, it sort of runs the gamut from sometimes just highly sculptural, right? Public art and participatory art, where sort of people get to make something or get to express their emotions about any of these environmental issues, and that becomes part of the artwork, which I think is more in line to what we're thinking we're going to do with Clean Clouds. This is our first time working on energy and decarbonization, so there's a new field for us. So I'm sure you all will have great ideas, and um, it's our hope to involve folks early on. Right now, we're literally looking for partners. We have some contacts in different schools across the state, but we want to come in with a local partner or an organization that is ready to, we were talking to Solar para Todos, or what, in Framingham, right? We started that conversation. We're talking to City of Boston today as well. So that we're ready. We can show up with the teachers and say, okay, we're going to come do this. And at the end, when we have this cloud, your students will be invited, will figure out how to get the parents and the caretakers, to come and help them lower their bills or help them, find choices to make their life a little bit better. No longer is it okay to just inform, but we really want that facilitate the action part. We can't do it because we're artists and we're tiny, right? But I know that all of you are out there, working on similar goals, and we just want to use art and our sort of ability to co-create and our relationship building to sort of facilitate that work.
Great, great. Well, Carolina, I do have a question, and maybe I'll, hopefully we'll get other questions as well. But you as an artist, and in doing art for public good, I think I assume, take the values of kind of the creative process for granted, largely, because you're doing it all day, every day. Can you speak to art as a distinct pathway for student learning? It's not the didactic approach that, most schools and teachers use. And, the collective, larger collective can appreciate art, but I'd really love you to just break down a little bit about why is art an effective way to engage students? Why is art an effective way to teach about energy and other means?
Excellent question. One could write a book, a book on that, many books on it. Well, it's fun. Like I had my daughter make a cloud. We have many of them around the house. There's something, especially these days when we're all so connected to screens and our attention span has minimized, right? That there's something really beautiful about making something with your hands. You made something. And every time we make something, we have a special attachment to it. It's a little extra beautiful because you made it, right? And there's this sort of sense of something that is not a test. There's no doing it wrong. That sort of lowers the sort of anxiety and allows for um, more feelings and like for it to be fun, right? And so we really we love that. We love the feeling of making. We love the what it feels like in the classroom. We love the feeling of fun. We love the feeling of joy, especially because what we're dealing with are really hard subjects. Right? So the making should be fun, the process should be fun because it sort of helps cushion some of the other stuff, right? And as we make something that is beautiful, even if it's about a hard thing, there's a sense of hope, there's a sense of pride. And that's what we're continuously trying to tap into, right? And then it allows us to tell stories also, which is such a basic human thing, right? That can hold some of the more difficult or nuanced information. So when we think about this project, we've had discussion, is this part of the curriculum? Is this? And I was like, no, no curriculum. We're just going to find the friendly teacher, the friendly librarian, the friendly after school, before school, whoever wants to work with us, it's just fun, right? It's going to have a chock full of information and learning, but we're not going to call it that. Right. So it's a little bit of our superpower that we like to try to work with that we know has worked in the past.
Mhm. Great, great. Okay, we have a couple of people with hands up. So Karen. Um,
Um, yeah, first of all, Carolina, I love your website. I love your art projects. I love the idea of representing data via art. Um, and I really love the narrative connection. In terms of the Clean Clouds project, like what you were describing sounds a lot like representing where we are. And I just wonder about the decarb part of it, because it seems like there's a visioning part that like maybe is the next stage of like, um, I mean, you hinted at it when you asked the question, where does our electricity come from? But um, that part of it, I just wonder like how you see what ways you see that that could be developed. And then the other question I wanted to ask is, I'm a retired teacher. I worked with younger minds, just really ramping up, and it was so cool. Um, but I retired and I worked with elder minds that were kind of slowing down. And I wonder, like, I could see how this kind of work would be really powerful, um, like for senior centers and things like that. So just a couple of thoughts.
Wonderful thoughts. The first answer is yes, we've thought about, well, this is our cloud now, and do we make a mini cloud of whatever is the next goal in the decarbonization goals for the town or for the state, right? To make that comparison visible, right?
Mhm.
That would be wonderful. It's part of it's one of the things that we're thinking about. Just like we're thinking, well, if we get many towns, do we aggregate this and maybe does the State House have an art director? Can we go hang these clouds in the State House, right? Or
Mhm.
do we get the Museum of Science to give free admission and we do a giant installation, right? And have a big event to like talk about, where we are as a state in our decarbonization goals, right? So you excellent question. We're on it. And then your second comment, I love that. We were just having a conversation with our partners Dear Tomorrow this morning. They're very interested in intergenerational sort of projects. And the Clean Clouds, we don't have it now, will also have a component of storytelling and maybe, where we can have folks of different ages or maybe even reflecting, did you have to cool your home when you were young and now you do and some of that and I love that you think that this could be good for working with seniors because it would be our goal to make it accessible to all groups, right? Sometimes we get asked, well, what age group are you thinking about? And I'm not really thinking about, I'm thinking everybody, right? To some extent. And I think that that would be powerful to do in community centers or senior centers or libraries as, workshops as well. We're just sketching out a little framework to start with the schools because that's where we can get a lot of traction. But if we had Karen, if you want to work with us and you have a group of seniors that is already active, let's go, right? It's fine, right? And then we exhibit it at the town library and it's a bigger thing.
It's very exciting. I thank you for presenting. This is really cool.
Thank you. Appreciate
Okay, and it looks like Marissa's got a question as well. Marissa?
Hi, I'm Marissa. I'm from Energize Franklin. I love the sort of the thinking big about, schools and libraries as well as like, do you take it to the state house kind of thing. I was also in sort of seeing the different project components. I was wondering if you thought there was also a possibility to have it work even on like a smaller scale. Like I think we do a lot of like tabling events for our group if like something like even just a day of kind of representation for like people who stop by a booth to have those sorts of discussions. Is that something you've also considered?
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. This made me realize that our slideshow needs some finessing. Yes, the idea is that we have a local exhibition, and by local is like hyper local. It could be the school or the library, right? And at the school or the library, we have people like you or others that can come and table. Ideally, we would also would like to sort of establish a relationship with you all before we create the project so that when we have the teachers that are enthusiastic and are going to help us carry this through, there's already some relationship building so that after we leave, those relationships can continue in some way or another. That's our goal. So, yes, hyper local first because that's where we think we can make an impact, right? Because each community is different and you all know your communities in ways that we will never know them in terms of the action part, right? And the teachers know their students in ways that we will never know them. So we're just there to bridge those two. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
Hmm. Okay, other questions for Carolina? Yes, Karen. Another
Sorry
question.
again, but I guess um like you were just saying about relationships and how like when you're reaching out to classroom teachers, you have that amazing strength of the day-to-day ongoing relationships with not just with the kids, but hopefully with the parents as well. Um, but what we do, most of us here, um, is, we see, we might see some people from our community at they might come to a few different events over the course of the year, but we don't have those really tight, like ongoing relationships. So, I mean, you're giving me so much to think about, but because I think this narrative part of it and this representational part of it is really important. But Marissa's right. It's like, how do you do this at when you're just meeting someone passing a table, Anyhow, it's very thought-provoking. I'm not really expecting an answer, but
I love that. I just put my email out there. Anybody who has any whiff of an idea or enthusiasm, just reach out. And we are the way we do magic with our projects is really through relationships. It's an adventure. If you want to be part of this adventure, hop on in. And we'll make it happen. And those are the bonds that last and have lasted and sort of throughout the years. And that's what we're looking forward to.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Carolina, and thank you, Steve. We are going to now move on to talk a little bit about the MassEnergize project or the MassEnergize program that we are working with youth called the Youth Climate Solutions Challenge. I'm going to just do a kind of a quick introduction to the Youth Climate Solutions Challenge, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ellen Sachs-Leiker, who was one of the advisors for a student team that took part in the Youth Climate Solutions Challenge. And I think, Ellen, you've got a student with you as well, don't you? Flora is here, I see.
For
Two
Flora and
students.
Kimberly. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Oh, yeah, good. And Kimberly as well. So, Joe, was there any other before? Was there any other intro that we wanted to do before? Is there anything else planned in terms of the introductions?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. I am going to just so I'm going to share my screen and just do a quick introduction to the Youth Climate Solutions Challenge. So make sure that can everybody see that all right? So I think many of you hopefully heard about the Youth Climate Solutions Challenge. It was a 1 year project that we ran through MassEnergize. We got pilot funding from Senator Mike Barrett, which we're very grateful for. And really, what our goal was is to find ways that to more effectively engage students, high school students. Many of you in our communities have said, in terms of doing your outreach, well, we've been reaching the senior center and we've reached, populations. We're doing tabling at the library or the farmer's market or whatever, but we're not really effectively engaging or involving students. And that's something that we heard. And so we decided, well, this would be a great opportunity for us to try to find more meaningful ways to engage students, but also not simply stop with just engaging the students, but really connecting students to the community. And that was the inception of our idea of the Youth Climate Solutions Challenge. So at a high level, we ran it for 1 year, and we will be running it again next year. We're calling it a STEM program because really it is an effective way for students to really learn some important STEM skills along the way. And really, our goal was to get students out of the classroom and into the communities. So what we really wanted to do was we initiated a project whereby 10 different in this last year, 10 different school teams formed, and they started by just identifying kind of climate issues in their community and local climate solutions that were relevant to them and to the community in which the school was a part. So we really wanted them to be thinking practically, not just conceptually about what would be a solution to a hypothetical solution to a climate issue, but something that they could actually do as far as kind of project-based learning, and they could really get their hands, get involved, and get their hands dirty in terms of actually building practical solutions. So that was kind of at a high level what we wanted to do. And then I'm going to just go on. So the way in which we conceived of our project was, first of all, getting the students to be thinking locally, identifying a challenge in their community. Then really, again, teamwork. Teamwork is an important part of, as we all know, of any problem solving. So we really had students form teams and work on the solutions together, and then finally engage the community. One of the requirements of our Youth Climate Solutions Challenge is that any solution could not just be implemented at school. I mean, kind of the classic example of a good project, but a school-bound project would be, getting the cafeteria to compost lunch at the cafeteria. I mean, while that's a great project, and an important step, we really wanted students to get out of the school and to think more broadly and to partner with community organizations as well as town and municipal energy committees and sustainability directors, etc. So and then I guess here at a high level, what we hope to accomplish is we really wanted to accomplish really building the leadership skills of students who are going to be obviously going on in their lives, and we want them to be more actively engaged and taking leadership. We also really wanted students to see that they could have real impact in their communities. So it wasn't just a project that they designed again conceptually, but that they could actually implement and see the impact. And then, of course, we wanted to inspire the next generation of climate problem solvers. So with that introduction, I want to turn it over to Ellen and the two students from Bromfield School to talk about their experience taking part in the Youth Climate Solutions Challenge and anything else you want to share. So, Ellen, I'll turn it over to you and then have you introduce the students who are part of the challenge this year.
Okay, great, thanks. Um, I will probably go off video after because two of us are trying to use the internet, which is so weak here. So I will disappear after I introduce. But two of them are here. Flora's here and Kimmy. They were the ones who led the project. We want a third student who couldn't be here tonight. And they picked the project and managed to carry out a sizable event at our in our town at our library, and I'm going to let them do the speaking because they're the ones who are closest to it. I just say that they are not high school students; they are eighth graders, rising ninth graders soon, and they really did a super job. So I think Flora, if she can put her screen on, and Kimmy, then they can speak. I didn't get them to prepare anything, so I think they'll just take turns trying to talk about what they did.
So our event, like Ellen said, was to try to host something at the library, and we ended up getting a lot better turnout than we thought. But it also started, that was like the end of what happened. There was a lot of work leading up to that event. Um, Originally, Ellen came up to us with the idea through our green team, and we ended up saying yes, which was a really good first step.
Yeah, so our school is separate middle school and high school, but most of the clubs are both like middle school and high school are put together. So that's how we're eighth graders. And the we ended up doing a seminar that was mostly about solar energy and teaching about solar, both what are the benefits environmentally, what are the benefits cost-wise, and just trying to get people more educated and more inclined to try to use solar.
We also, like Kimmy said, we are eighth graders, but I don't think that really limited us at all throughout any of the stuff that we did through MassEnergize or through our town in general because we had Ellen. She was definitely a really big part of our project, but I think all three or four of us rather working together helped too. And as also Kimmy said, like the green team, so that's like a club in our both middle school and high school. The leader of that is our science teacher, Mr. Clark, so he was also very, very helpful. We kind of just worked together, all the like everybody in the club to try to figure out what our end goal wanted to be, and we succeeded, which is really great.
Terrific. Well, Kimmy or Flora, do you want to add anything else before we open it up to some questions? Are you willing to answer some questions?
Yeah, just one more thing is that I'm really grateful for this opportunity because at first, I know both me and Flora, well, since this is the first year, we didn't really have like that good of an idea of what we're getting into, but this was something that was really fun and it opened like a lot more, I guess it gave us a lot more information both about solar and MassEnergize.
And how to like lead a project this big, which is really helpful for the future going into high school, going into ninth grade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just add to it that they organized, they did the research on solar, they created the presentation, they worked with me to do the outreach. I think the outreach was what they had to learn how to do in some ways because they had to involve the whole community. And that was something that you also have to start earlier rather than later. So I think that was an education there. But they did it all. I mean, they contacted the organizations in town to get them to promote the program. They got the people there. They came up with ideas such as we gave out advanced power strips and LEDs kind of as on the side. We had solar vendors there. We had solar coaches there, that I, as part of the climate initiative in town, have the solar coaches, but they reached out to them. They reached out to the solar vendors. So I think they take the credit for it all, but I was there to help them to think it through. But I think there's been several articles written on our newspaper about them. They really stepped up and did it all. And I think I'll let them speak that they learned a lot from this too, because it was something that they weren't used to doing. And most of the students aren't, because when you're working with the community, it's a lot different.
Yeah, I've never really done a project like it before and would definitely like to do one very similar in the future. Like I've made slideshows, I've presented about solar to my class, but never to something that has the entire town or the entire community built into it, I guess.
Yeah, and I think while Ellen gives us credit for organizing it, she definitely helped us a lot with finding people to talk to. Like we talked to someone from the gravel pit, which is like I believe, an up and coming solar farm. But yeah, she connected us with a lot of people. And another thing is that it was really nice because, like Flora talked about, we had projects in school, but with this community-wide project, we could actually see our impacts not just in the school area.
Terrific. Well, thank you. And for those of you who were not at the final award ceremony, this team of eighth graders were actually won the first prize. So, good congratulations to the Bromfield School and to Flora and Kimmy and the team because they did an outstanding project. And we had a panel of judges of industry professionals, educators, a whole variety of people and it was and this team won first prize. So again, congratulations. Okay, so yeah, I did see some hands up. Uli, you had a question. I don't know if you want to ask it. And also I saw that Karen had a question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, congratulations, Flora and Kimberly. That's really amazing. I have two kind of short questions. One is I just know how busy students are these days, how many things they do after school, etc. I was wondering how you found the time or what motivated you to take the time to also, run a project this size. And then I was also wondering if there is any this probably wasn't part of this, but if the town is doing any follow-ups to your presentations, like is there any kind of way to find out what kind of effect it had?
To answer the first question, like, of course, our schedules were very busy, but it was also during the winter when we started, from November to around April is when we did everything. So that had I had indoor track, I had some soccer stuff, but it was only about an hour every week. An hour it was probably 1 hour to 2 hours every week, so that wasn't too much, I guess. And really what motivated me was to have an impact on my community. Um, I just really I have the solar on my house and I think that that's really awesome that I can do it. But I know that not everybody in the town is educated for that. So I wanted to make sure everybody could be.
And then,
Awesome.
oh, sorry. I guess to answer the second question, um, I'm sorry, what was that? I kind of forget.
I know I was just asking whether the town did any follow-ups to your presentations.
Yeah, so we had, as Ellen mentioned before, we had a couple newspapers of like when we won, but not I saw someone in the chat asking what were the prizes, but basically for the first place prize, it was a $3,000 um grant or yeah, $3,000 for our school. And right now our school is just trying to figure out another project that we can do with that $3,000 for an energy related project. And that's something we're working on right now. And I believe also after the event was actually held, the seminar, we on our town's media channel had a recording of it, and that was posted
Mhm.
after. So in case anybody wanted to, and in case anybody missed it or wanted to see it.
And state how many people signed up for solar at the event. So that was some of the
Yeah.
follow-up.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. We also had solar coaches and vendors at the event, so we could see how many people actually went after we told them about the benefits, actually went to talk to the people to try to get solar on their house or just find out more information about it. We had 5 people for one vendor and three for another, so that's eight total, which is really awesome.
That's amazing.
We have the Harvard Climate Initiative, which is what Ellen is part of, and they're continuing to host very good events, but which is not specifically about solar, but there is one June 13th about invasive plants, which I'm very happy to help out with.
Wow.
And
Yeah, no.
I'll add also that we did have an open house about 2 weeks ago where we had 5 open houses showing solar and heat pumps. So something many of the groups have done. It's our playbook too, and we go out there and do it twice or so a year. So having Flora and Kimmy and BB having done this event, we now have followed up and done the open houses not too far after what they did. So when we had probably 80 people show up, which for us is pretty good.
We
Amazing.
did not expect 80 people.
Mhm.
I was hoping for probably 30, but 80 is definitely double my expectations.
So
So
we have
great.
Okay, well, yeah, Ellen Tone, question.
Yeah, it was well, nice to see you again, Flora. And we met at the event in at Framingham State. There's one thing you told me at that event that I think I would love you to comment on, but my overarching question is, a bunch of communities like us, and Kavia's on from Wayland, we have a green team. They seem like they have a bunch of other stuff going on. So I had tried to interest the green team in our school to do this and didn't quite get that much traction. I know, Ellen, you're the advisor to them, so that helps. But I'm curious, like if you were trying to go to a green team, why should a green team, do this versus something else? But and the other thing that's my question. The other thing you didn't mention tonight, but you told me, which is that your science teacher, one of your teachers, gave, was it credit if people attended the event? Can you just say something about that? Because I think that was an important thing that you told me that made a difference, and I don't think came up. And it has to do with connect, how you get people to show up to things and how you incentivize people. Can you speak to that?
Oh yeah, definitely. So to try to entice, yeah, students to come to our event in the high school and the middle school, we gave them 3 points of extra credit on their science grade if the teacher had said yes to that. So we would, as the students would walk in, we would write down their name, their grade, and their science teacher to record and then tell back to that teacher to give them extra credit for attending our event. And I think that definitely helped increase the amount of students that actually came because I mean I could invite my friends, I could invite all my classmates, but at the end of the day, what really gets people to come, especially if they're struggling in science, is extra credit. So that definitely helped. Yeah, thank you for helping me
But they
remember.
had to bring a parent. They had to bring a parent.
Yes, they yeah.
Someone who could actually make the call about
Ah,
investigating solar. So I thought that was like an interesting tactic. And then to my question, I don't know, Kavia's maybe still on from Wayland, but what, if I'm trying to pitch to our green team to do something, like why should your green team focus on this? There's a million other things they could do, like to come up with, to engage in a project, to work not just in your school, but to engage with your broader community.
Um, if I'm being honest, I can't remember truly what made me want to do this project, but as a for me in general, I've really enjoyed longer projects that have an end result, and the idea that like nobody else would do this project and it still had to be done, that definitely made me want to do it, I guess. And the prize at the end was, I guess, something that could be fun to work towards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Mainly just the idea that like nobody else would do it, so why shouldn't I guess.
Okay, thanks.
What about you, Kimmy? You want to add?
I think mostly for me it was curiosity because again, this was the first year and I just wanted to know like what kind of an impact we could have and what we could really accomplish.
Nice to see you both again.
good. Yeah. Any other questions for our two students here or for any of the other presenters this evening? Yeah, Megan.
I'm just wondering if you look ahead to next year, if you're thinking of doing it, and would you stay with the same project and try to take it to the next level, or do you think you'd try to brainstorm a new project?
So, looking at the requirements for next year's MassEnergize, it has something to do with, or it has to include something else with art. So that's not per se my specialty. So I wouldn't, I would definitely like to help out with the project, but maybe not do solar again because that might not be so easy to connect with something like art. But I'm not sure yet.
Mhm. Fair enough. And I had just a comment, really. I think really one of the beauties of this project is that you were so closely connected to the community group. And I think that's really, it was the school project and you had to be in the community, but I think your connection to the community group probably gave you a nice boost. And as Ellen was saying, especially with publicity and outreach.
Yeah, we've said this again and again, but we're really, really grateful to Ellen for everything that she's done, not only with like connecting people, but she was one of the driving forces in really organizing it. Because since I know myself, I haven't really done a project like this before. I wasn't really sure where to start, but she really got us on track.
But they
Great to
did
learn
all the
from.
work. But they did all the work. I want to add something too, because the teacher that runs the green team has always been open for me being there. So again, I joined, I don't know how many years ago, and I go every week because they meet once a week. And if it wasn't for me being there all the time, I probably wouldn't have been there to really help them along. But they did the work, they learned along the way. Yes, it's hard to do outreach, but I think the reason it worked too was because the green team's been accepting of me as a community member to be working with them.
Good. Yeah, Brad, question.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the work that the students did. And in fact, what really gratified me was to hear the students, not just from Harvard, but from some other schools saying, we're just going to continue on working on this. We had some fun. We learned a lot. It's not over. We're going to do something over the summer. Um, what I think maybe we need to do next year is to kind of go through, have the committee people, the people we work with, uh, connect to the school and come up with some ideas. I really think nurturing that relationship is key. Mm.
It could be really fun to have a group do this and then maybe do like Steve's project somehow. And then they could get money and actually put the coverings, you know, win the prize and then be able to put this anti-reflective thing on the next set of windows and that kind of thing could be really cool. And an art project
So is
all
that
come
like
together.
what is that like an idea to do with what the money that we won, or are you saying for next year?
Well, I'm thinking that if somebody had a successful project and then they got $3,000, that then they could invest it in like an actual project, maybe,
Yeah,
like to put the anti-reflective thing on some windows and try it out. And then actually maybe that is the basis of next year's project or next year's Youth Climate Solutions Challenge is to run this trial with the stuff that you got the money for. So it could.
that's a really cool idea. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and lots of points of good connection. Brad, I appreciate your comment that really, yes, one of our goals has been to really forge closer relationships between the schools and school groups and parents and et cetera, and the community group. So I'd be interested to hear if from any of the other community groups, whether there are other ways that you'd like to see kind of a partnership with the schools or with this project. Could this project lead in some new directions? by building that partnership between the community groups and the schools. Just something to think about. Okay, yeah, Susan, you've got a question.
Great. Hi, everybody. It just strikes me that in helping young people learn about solar in this case, that's half the part. But what you guys learned about organizing an event is part of environmental activism. It's not just getting people to do solar, but figuring out how you get that to happen. And so I think this was just a wonderful expression with the coaching that was given. So that not only did you learn a lot about solar, but you learned how to create an event and how to get partners and all of that stuff. I think it's fantastic. Kudos.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And another thing I'd like to add is when we went to the I don't quite remember. I think it was I don't quite remember, but it was like a MassEnergize event that was happening, and oh, I don't quite remember what
Was
it
it
was
was
called.
it our conference where you did a poster session at the
Yeah.
conference?
Yeah. So at that conference, there were a lot of breakout rooms that we could go to. And I remember I went with one of them with Flora, and it was talking about people that were already like well-established environmental activists. And I think that that really like opened my eyes, like in a way.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
it was young people. I think it was three girls, one who was out of college, one who was in college, and one who was in high school doing the Mass Energize project with us. And they were all talking about energy in a way that was understandable to me and Kimmy, and in a way that we could really just like see what they were seeing. And that was very, very like empowering, I guess, to see if like they can do it, I could too.
And you could tell that they were really passionate about what they did.
Mhm. Terrific. Okay, well, are there any final questions about to any of the speakers? And if not, we'll kind of move on to the very last section of our presentation. But any last questions, either for Steve, Cooler Communities, or for Carolina, Art for Public Good? Okay, well, if not, we just have a couple, well, another 10 minutes or so. I'd love to just open the floor to anybody who has not had a chance to share, maybe from some of the communities, just to hear what are your plans for the summer? Are there things that you're going to be doing over the summer? Are there questions that you have about any projects that you have in the works that you'd like to hear? This is a chance just for general questions and or sharing from any of the community groups or anybody who's working on anything. Particularly, we'd love to hear what you have in store for the summer. Yes, Susan.
Steve and I at Kula Communities are working on an exciting research grant that we got from Empower to figure out the best ways to inspire middle school kids to learn about green jobs of the future, kind of planting seeds. So if any of you are involved with middle school kids, you teach or you've got a long history of teaching them and have ideas of what would work, is it books? Is it video games? Is it contests? How do we best reach that age group and plant seeds of the jobs of the future? We're open to hearing from you. We'd love to hear from you.
Speaking from a middle schooler, I'm in eighth grade. I think something like the Mass Energize challenge, that was really like something that interest me to win and to be competitive. Something that's also really what I enjoy is like hands-on activities where I make the project, the event at the library, or something else along the same lines.
That's awesome to hear. I'm wondering if you would be okay, Flora and Kimmy, for me to get your contact number from Nathan and maybe have a short conversation together, if that would be okay with everybody. I would love to hear you say more on what you just said, because that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, of course. I'm very happy to talk.
Okay, Nathan, I'll be in touch.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, yeah, Ellen, anything going on in Harvard apart from what all the work you've been doing on solar?
Yeah, so as Flora said, which is great, we do have this weekend. Yeah, I can't even keep track anymore. This weekend we do have an invasive species plants event where we're going to show the tools. We have tools that our library has to help remove invasive species. So we have somebody from Sudbury Valley Trustees coming who's going to do sort of the presentation. Then all these tools are going to come out and everybody's going to learn how to use them and they can borrow them from the library. And then the other thing we have coming is we're, as usual, in our 4th of July parade. Harvard is a very old-fashioned 4th of July, and every year Climate Initiative tries to be in the parade. This year we even actually have a few young families that I think are going to join us, and it's always a surprise what we're going to come up with. We're not going to be as good as last year. We just didn't have the same team, but we will be in the parade, and I think that gives us exposure every year, and we continue to do it, as ridiculous as it sometimes seems.
What do they say that all publicity is good publicity or something like that?
Right, and we're going to be in there no matter what, whatever they think.
Yeah. Megan, do you want to share a little bit about what's going on in Medfield or how the Sustainable Medfield event went?
We are having a couple of booths at the farmers market. Yesterday, we handed out, I think, 50 little mosquito starter kits, mosquito dunk bucket starter kits. So we'll do that. Then we'll have different themes at the other ones. But one of the big plans for the summer is to plan for the fall. And actually, Ellen, we have the opportunity to have a float in the Medfield 375th anniversary. We're thinking of parade, but we can't think of anything fun. So I'm just writing you an email right this minute because I need some fun ideas. Because right now it's really boring. Who wants to talk about solar panels in a parade? So I'm sure you have some good ideas. Thank you.
Yeah. Karen, how about Acton?
Well, we're going to we had a clean energy home fair home tour last Saturday. I guess the last weekend in May is a good time for home tours. It was just one house, but we got 44 people, so
Wow.
that was good. And in July we'll have on July 14th we'll have our EV petting zoo. Hopefully build on the plug-in event next week. And the 23rd of July, no, the 22nd, sorry, we're going to have our 4th annual plant-based community potluck picnic. And the theme this year is going to be kind of inspired by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Is the theme is plants as teachers.
Oh,
So
nice.
That sounds nice.
Nice. Well, I'm going to call on a couple of people who I know just to see if you're willing to share. Wendy, what's going on in Newburyport this summer? Oh, maybe Wendy's not there.
I am here. I
Okay,
just
yeah.
trying to push
I'm
buttons.
putting you on the spot, Wendy.
Well, our Energy Advisory Committee has been doing a lot of work on just getting EVs used by the city, and I think it's really part of a green energy grant, I think, from the state to have our municipal people and all the police use EVs, like EV first, choose an EV first before they choose a gas powered car. So just a lot of work in doing that. That's it for right now.
Good.
and then you can have an EV petting zoo with all of your town EVs.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, and they're coming up with new plans for charging stations. And so we've had several other outside organizations make presentations to our committee on where we could put charging stations.
Good, good, good. How about Ashland? What do you folks have planned for the summer in Ashland?
Let me see what I'm here. All right. So yeah, we just had a successful seminar or a presentation on plastics, which together with Hopkins and Holliston, which was a fun event. We showed a movie and had a discussion and had people come over. Right now, we're still working with the Sustainability Committee in Ashland. We're trying to get to be a little closer with that committee because Energize Ashland is not all that big at this point. So we need to work together. We have a project. We're looking at some canopy maybe for community solar at our railways parking lot. That's something we're trying to push. It's also a very slow project. Try to work with the state. We will be having an event at the farmers market again, Sustainability Day, and probably an Ashland Day event as well. So that's probably pretty much what we are doing.
Mm-hmm. Good, good. Would anybody else like to share? Ruby in Bedford?
Hi. So I'm gonna be the Cal Clean Energy Fellow with Bedford, and so I'll be helping working on sustainable and outreach initiatives.
Uh-huh. Good, good, good. And how about Littleton, Charlotte? What do you have planned for the
Hi.
summer?
Hi everyone. Well, we just hosted actually a forum here in Littleton for the launch of our V1 of the Climate Action Plan. So we're glad to be joining the communities that have a climate action plan, and looking forward over the summer and well into the fall. We're really going to be looking at where do we want to prioritize, what do we want to be, there we go, working on, taking some of those specific actions. And Littleton does host a series typically of what we call Third Thursdays throughout the summer, where a lot of different community groups gather, and we usually have a presence there. So we're hoping to be there again and to use that as an opportunity to share with our residents some of the ways in which they can pursue these sustainable options in town. So, but great to hear all these other ideas as well. And I think we're making a long list of things that we'd like to do in Littleton as well.
Good.
Thanks.
Okay, well, I think we are now out of time, but it was unless anybody else would like to share before we wrap up. So, okay, well, this will be, as I said earlier, this will be the last community of practice for until September. We're going to take July and August off. But once again, it's so great to see everybody here. We would love to have you continue to participate in the community of practice. We are also exploring, and Seth Federspiel is here from the Building Energy, sorry, BEA. Building, what is BEA again? The Building Electrification Alliance. So we're going to be doing some more partnership with BEA. So you'll probably be hearing more about that, bringing together some of their groups as well as their regular meetings as well as ours. So you'll be hearing about that over this, into the fall. But again, I just want to say thank you for everybody who joined us. Thank you for our presenters, Steve and Carolina and Ellen and Flora and Kimmy. Thank you for sharing what you're doing and for everybody for the good work that you're doing in your communities. At MassEnergize, we try to be a kind of a convener or host for all the good work that's going on. So if there's ways that we can be supporting you and the events and things going on in your community, please let us know. But if, with that, I'd like to just wish everybody a good summer. I know summer's a busy time for many of you, so stay cool and hope the summer goes really well. And please reach out to us at any time at MassEnergize if we can offer any kind of support. We would like to do that. So, okay, good night, everybody, and happy summer. And we look forward to seeing you in the fall.